specialization. In last session, we covered Unit 3, that is risk management in regards to the banking. Now, risk management for enterprise, for different companies, for corporate. We are studying today. Before I join, shall we wait another 1 or 2 minutes? So by the time some students will join, is it okay? Risk management in regards to the banking. That part we have covered in unit number 3. Barabar na?
Yes, sir.
So this is unit number 4, which talks risk management in respect of enterprise. Means other than banking, all kind of companies. So how risk is involved in the enterprises, concept, scope and types we will be discussing today. So let's start. Yes, can you see my slide? Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Risk management for enterprise. Enterprise risk management that is ERM. It is known as ERM, Enterprise Risk Management. ERM, it is the process of identifying and addressing methodically the potential events that represents risk to the achievement of strategic objectives, or either objectives or opportunities to gain competitive advantage. As we all are aware that almost all companies, they have a very acute competition. There are many competitors who are in the same line of business, and those companies are having cutthroat competition. Now, when there is a cutthroat competition, as you know that company, they expose with different kind of risk, maybe economic risk, social risk, political risk, and so on. So in order to minimize the impact of risk, how they address in respect of methodically that potential events, that we'll be talking about. Now, the example is that here I also listed some example. Example includes global crisis. And now recently, we have seen in last 1.5 months, there was a global crisis between Russia and Ukraine. So there was a war. So this war had become the global crisis for the rest of the country, rest of the world. And because of this war, what was the impact on the Indian economy? Have you realized, because of Russia and Ukraine, how it has impacted on Indian economy? Or there was no impact? What was the impact?
So oil prices increased and share
Yes.
market crashed.
Yes, share market crashed, then oil prices increased. Then even because of oil prices, there was an inflation in almost in all things. And then again in between, there was a problem with Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka had a very severe problem. But fortunately, as far as our country concerned, since we were strong fundamentally, so we were not having that much severe impact because of this Ukraine and Russia war. Little bit there was an impact, but it was a very slight or light one. Then another example, as you know, this global crisis, then IT systems. IT systems what? Failure. IT systems, suppose if hackers, many times hacker, they play some mischief in the system, and because of their mischief, the system gets collapsed. So IT system failure, maybe because of hacker or some, maybe because of some issues. Then another point is data breaches. Data breaches is what? Stealing data. That is data breaches. Stealing some data information. Choraichi, data information choraichi. That is breaches. Then fraud, loss of people and litigation, among other. So here I have quoted about 4 or 5 examples. That is global crisis number 1, IT system failure number 2, data breaches number 3, fraud number 1, 2, 3, 4, number 5, and loss of people number 6, and number 7, litigation, and among other. So these are there are many more examples. Because of that, company, they expose with the risk. So this was about ERM, that is enterprises risk management, ERM. So here you have to develop a process, and that process will identify and it will address the solution. It will address the solution about this potential event. Now, say for example, let us pick any one of this example. Say IT system failure. If IT system failure, if you realize that maybe IT system may get failed, so what precaution you will take? as a owner of company? What things comes in your mind? Just imagine how you are going to solve this issue if IT system gets failure. That
Sir, I
IT
will,
system, yes, yes, yes,
sir,
sorry.
I will appoint white cat hackers.
Okay, you will appoint an expert, and you will also have, uh, you will also run the system. You will run the system, whether your system is competent or sufficient enough to handle this situation. So what we can say that it is known as artificial, you will create artificial environment. Artificial environment, like you might have heard, most of the time military people or police, suppose if bomb attack happens, then how rescue operation is being conducted. So sometimes what happen, they create that kind of environment in a busy road, which is known as demonstration, just to have a practice that how rescue operation can be conducted. So that kind of demonstration, police or army people, they conduct in a public. So that way you can have demo of your system, and through demo you will come to know whether your system is good enough to handle this kind of situation or not. So this way we can address the solution. Now going to the next one, concept of enterprise risk management. Now other important ERM, enterprise risk management concept, include the risk philosophy or risk strategy, risk culture, and risk appetite. Now understand this one by one. Risk philosophy. Now you will be wondering that how philosophy is associated with the risk. How philosophy is associated with the risk. You might be thinking like that. Or a risk strategy, risk culture, and risk appetite. Now understand one by one. Basically risk. One is systematic risk, and another is unsystematic risk. What are the types of risks? Yes, please. What are the type of risk?
Systematic and unsystematic.
Systematic and unsystematic. Now here, systematic risk, it is a planned risk. It is planned risk. But unsystematic risk, it is unplanned. It is unplanned. So handling unsystematic risk, that is quite challenging or difficult. However, handling systematic risk, because it is a planned risk, so compared to unsystematic, it is very easy to handle. Now, for example, we know in the month of June, normally rain starts in the month of June. Now, today being a 22nd of June, now most of the part of our country have received rain, but still in Pune we are waiting for rain. So it may start maybe in couple of days. Now, this rain generally comes in the month of June, that we are aware. Am I correct? We are very much aware, no? Because of month of June.
Yes, sir.
It is so we take some precaution, like say carrying umbrella, carrying raincoat and whatnot. So that kind of precaution we take. So this is handling of systematic risk. So in the month of June, normally rain comes, so we are ready for that. But suppose in the month of say January, if all of a sudden, if heavy rain happens in the month of January, so that time we all are not prepared, because in January we never expect that there might be this kind of heavy rain in the month of January. So what consequences you may have? What consequences you may have? There might be loss because of sudden rain in the month of January, and January, it is not a month for rain, and still it is raining in the month of January. So the risk philosophy, that we apply our philosophy that in particular month this is the situation, and accordingly we prepare ourselves. But we never had a thought that in the month of January there could be a rain. So that kind of philosophy we carry. But if sudden rain comes, so no one is prepared, and then there might be a loss to that particular event or activity. So that is known as risk philosophy. So again, I repeat, risk philosophy advocates us that we have some philosophy in our mind because in past we have learned, and from that learning we continue that philosophy. Okay, so that is risk philosophy or risk strategy. In enterprises performance management also we have learned about strategy in the morning only. So I will not repeat again and again what is risk strategy. Then risk culture. What is this risk culture? Now, in a corporate also, suppose nowadays almost all company, their staff members have been given proper training to handle a particular uh, type of risk, and that is, say for example, those who are having say factory. So in factory there are boiler. So normally whenever the boilers are there, so that location is comparatively very hot because there is a boiler. So near and around boiler, normally uh, safety measures are being introduced. Or another example, those who are working in mining. What is mining? What do you mean by mining?
So coal mine.
Yes, coal mine, gold mine. So these are the mine. Correct. You are correct. Coal mine. So in coal mine, so always those who are working in coal mine, they have developed that risk culture because suddenly uh, some mishap may happen, and sometimes they lost their life also. So what precaution they carry? They have their helmet, then they wear shoes up to knee. So long shoes are there up to knee, that kind of shoes. Are you getting my example? Shoes up to knee.
Yes, sir.
So that kind of shoes, then helmet, and above and over helmet there is a light also, light. Because why they are having light? Because they are working in a coal mine. So when they go in a deeper and deeper, so they should be able to see what is the object before them. So in order to see that object, lights are there. So wearing knee level shoes, having helmet with light, and then gloves in a hand. So that kind of things they are having each and every time. So that kind of culture they are following. But suppose you and me, if you are invited to see, say, coal mine, so uh, we do not know the environment of mining, and that is why uh, people like you and me are not allowed to move around in the coal mine. So people who are working, so they are aware about that because they have developed that culture. So risk culture they are aware, since we are not aware. Similarly, it happens with police also, police or army. Now recently you have seen in last 2 years when there was a pandemic, still our police people, they were on the road. They were not having work from home facility. Police department, they have to actually work on the field. So many police officers, police staff, they also suffered from corona. They recovered and again they joined duty. So this kind of culture has been given right from their training period, So whatever happens, they should report to their duty. Same training culture is also being provided to the army people, commando and soldier. So even if they are on vacation and if call comes from their superior, immediate join duty. So without any reason, they have to report to the duty. So that kind of culture they have. So I have understood the risk culture. What is risk culture?
Yes, sir.
Now, next is risk appetite. Risk appetite. Now, what is this appetite? Appetite means to absorb a particular risk, to sustain that particular risk. That is risk appetite. How far you can sustain that particular risk. Now, those who are working in mine, those who are working in police department, those who are working in, say, army units, so they have a very high amount of risk appetite. Even flood comes or maybe fire take place, or maybe some natural calamities come, like say earthquake. So many times government take help of army. Does government take help of army or not? When flood comes or earthquake happens, army people, they are being called for helping to civilian people or not?
Yes, sir.
So why they are being called? Because these people are having high amount of risk appetite. So they have that kind of culture. Whenever there is an emergency, whenever there is a difficult time, they have been given training how to work in a difficult time, how to work in a, say, very risky situation. Whereas people like you and me, we do not have that kind of training. So we cannot work in that environment. But army people and police people, they are capable enough to work in this risky situation, and because of their risk appetite, because they have capability to sustain that much risk. त्यांच्याकडे ती क्षमता आहे रिस्क सहन करण्याची, आपल्याकडे नाही येते. आर्मी पीपल, पोलीस, they have that much capability to sustain risk. That is known as risk appetite. These are expressions of the attitude to risk in the organization. So these are nothing but these are expression of the attitude to risk in the organization and of the amount of risk that the organization is willing to take. Now nowadays, if you visit any, say, multi-stored building or say mall, so they are all equipped with a fire system. So if fire take place, so staff members who are working in mall, they have been given training that how to have rescue operation, how to use that fire system. So that kind of training is being provided to such employees, and accordingly they minimize the risk. Now in last, I think 1.5 years, all of a sudden there was a fire taken place in Pune based company, that is Serum Institute of India. At the time they were busy in manufacturing vaccine for corona, and then suddenly fire took place in this company, Serum Institute of India. Have you heard this news? There was a fire caught in
Yes.
Serum. Heard?
Yes.
So, and the reason was given that because of their furniture, because furniture work was going on, new building they had constructed, and their furniture work was going on, and then because of the negligence of company or the security, suddenly the building burned and a huge amount of material, but fortunately, no one lost their life. Only there was a loss of furniture and some material. But since this Serum Institute of India is a company which is working at the international level, so they had all kind of equipments and connectivity. So immediately they inform all nearby fire stations, and within say 5 to 6 minutes, several fire brigade vehicle they approached to the Serum Institute of India, and they evacuated entire building. So they shifted staff from that building to a safe place. So that way they handle particular risk. But again, opposite to this example, during pandemic also, we have heard that in Thane or Mumbai, I don't remember the particular place, but hospital suddenly uh, burned. Hospital suddenly set for fire. Hospital आग लगी अचानक, and in that hospital there were patients, and those patients were corona patients, and they were having treatment. And then later on they found that fire took place because of there was some this thing problem with their AC connectivity. There was some problem, and because of that problem, the hospital fire, and because of that, even those patients were on oxygen, so they were not able to move from their place. Some two, three patients they lost their life, and some patients were taken outside the hospital. So that also had happened in Mumbai area. So there, the hospital was not having appropriate measures to control fire, whereas Serum Institute of India was having appropriate measures so they could control the fire situation. So it differs from company to company. I have given two examples. One is a healthcare company, that is Serum Institute of India, and another hospital. Again, it is healthcare. So both belongs to the healthcare, but one is hospital, another one is company, and how they handle their risk, fire risk. Now, these are important elements of governance responsibility, and that is why now government has made compulsory that each and every hospital and each and every commercial organization, they should inspect their electrification work every after 3 years. Every after 3 years, they should inspect their wiring and entire work, whether it is proper or there are some cuts in wiring. So that has to be checked. And if there are cuts, then immediately they should replace with new wiring, so that this kind of mishap or say serious accidents can be avoided or can be controlled. So generally, fire, which is the major risk associated with company, factory, and all kind of commercial establishment, even a shop also, small establishment, they also exposed with fire. So it is mandatory that they should install fire extinguishing system. Now government has made compulsory, and not only that, government also has also given condition to the fire safety making companies that Such company should give training to the purchaser, whoever is purchasing fire system. They should be given appropriate training in case if fire take place, then how to uh, have a relief from that situation. So that kind of training is also being provided. So this was about the concept. Now about this ERM, enterprises risk management. What is the scope for enterprises risk management? Scope. So let's study the scope for enterprises risk management. Can you see this slide, scope slide?
Yes, sir.
Now scope, the scope of an organization, ERM, process should encompass all significant components in order to assess risk effectively. Now, what is this? A scope and organization ERM process, that is enterprise risk management process, should encompass all significant components. So they must know what are the important or significant components in order to assess the risk effectively. Now, let me give the example of say chemical manufacturing company. Chemical manufacturing company, generally there are some explosive atoms which are being stored in the chemical manufacturing company. Many times there are some explosive atoms. Now, when you are aware that you are into the production of chemical and you are also carrying some explosive atoms like say diesel, petrol. So what will happen? There is a biggest risk for company if something goes wrong. Now recently, I think one company was there in this thing Mushi, near about Mushi area, and suddenly there was a fire, and it was a chemical company, and I think 4 or 5 people they lost their life. 4 or 5 people had a death in this fire. Now why I am giving this example and what is learning from this company, since it was a company who are into the production of chemical things, and since they are into the chemical, we know that in chemical there are many explosive atoms are there, explosive material is there. So that explosive material, it is very risky and sensitive. Even a small mistake, small negligence can create huge loss for company, can create huge loss for company. So for that purpose, you have to have systematic checking of that particular unit. So there has to be say 2-3 layers, 2-3 layers you should introduce to have a check. So such a layer, suppose if one layer uh, neglects mistake, at least second layer will caught that mistake. Even if second layer neglects, then third layer definitely will catch that. So you have to have 2-3 layers. If you are into the a very explosive or sensitive, if you are having very sensitive article, explosive article, then you must have minimum 2 to 3 layers of checking. So if one makes mistake, at least second will catch. If second also neglects, then third will definitely catch that mistake. So that kind of layer and different training should be given to this layer. Different training should be. not same training, different kind of training. So everybody will have a different view, looking towards potential risk, looking towards potential risk. Now, a company's ERM process should take into account any external pressure that could potentially affect its operation or influence its performance in some way. Now, what is the meaning of this? A company's ERM process should be able to handle external pressure. And generally, here people lacks in handling external pressure. People are not sufficient enough to handle external pressure. Sometimes what happens, the pressure comes from political party, pressure comes from society. ऐसे कैसे हो गया? What happened? This is your negligence. So that kind of, and because of this objection, if your staff gets upset or if they are not able to concentrate on their work, then what will happen? They will make a mistake. They will, if they are making mistake, and then it will be costly affair for company. So for that purpose, whenever you design this ERM process, it should take into account any external pressure. So they should be given that kind of training, that how to handle external pressure. So that kind of torturing, stress, this situation, artificial situation, creating this artificial situation, and how we react, that has to be tested. That has to be tested. Now let me give you a very simple example. Now many times we see that those who are working in public PRO department, public relation department, in PR department. So in PR department, generally what happens? People, they come with their complaints, so many complaints, and they go on explaining complaints to a person who is handling PR department, public relation department. And then maybe at the end of day, you get tiresome, you get stress listening same and same kind of complaints from different people. And because of this stress, then the person reacts. Now this reaction, if he is reacted in a bad manner, then what will happen? People will upset with the company, that this the company people are not good enough to handle pressure. So that kind of extra, how to handle external pressure, that training should be given. Let me give a very simple example of railway and buses. Now, whenever railway and buses are traveling from one place to another place, so sometimes they are also exposed with the accident. Sometimes railway meet with accident. Even buses, they are also meeting with accident. But the staff members who are into that railway and bus, now in bus we know there is a driver and conductor. So only two people are there. Now suppose if something goes wrong with that bus, then who take care of that entire bus? If something goes wrong with the bus, number one, driver, he take care of the bus, and conductor, he maintain patience, so he controls passenger. And this way they handle pressure, driver and conductor. Same happen with even aeroplane as well as railway. If railway tracks, if there are some problem with railway track, and if railway meet with an accident, so the staff member who are working in train, they have been given sufficient training, passengers as well as from local people. So that kind of training. So unless till the time railway staff, they manage pressure, and once police come, then they hand over that system to the police, and this way they utilize their training knowledge in this difficult situation. Same with aeroplane also. So if captain gives instruction that there are some problem with plane, so there is also second captain. So second captain takes care of remaining operation, and there are other crew members in plane, like say there is a technician, then there are air hostess. So air hostess and technician, they are also being given sufficient training that how to handle say serious situation if happens. So in respect of passenger, how to rescue passengers, so that kind of training is being provided. So this training is not only a bus and aeroplane or railway, but even in ship also. And the same time, in different companies also, this kind of training is being given, initial training, so that if difficult time comes, your staff should be sufficient enough to handle that situation. So this ERM process should encompass all significant all components, whatever risk components are there, they should understand. And they should also assess risk effectively. What are the risks associated with that? Now suppose if firecracker manufacturing company is there, Patake बनवण्याची company, firecrackers manufacturing company. So people who are working in firecrackers company, they have been given proper training to handle this difficult situation, and they manage. So with this, we can say there is a huge scope for organization. And one more thing I would like to highlight. Now, suppose if you are working in a mall, or if you are working in any say commercial building where 20-story, 25-story building is there. Now, in that building, suppose if people are moving around from one floor to another floor, and if suddenly fire take place, run and how to run. How to fix some board. Board should be fixed. And one more thing, in difficult time, there has to be some sound system. So through that sound, you can give the instruction that suppose if you are in the fourth floor number 4, then how to come out from floor number 4. At left side, what is that? At right side, what is the object? Maybe in front of that passage, what is the object? So that kind of instructions can be given through sound system. But that kind of say demo should be given initially. If demos are given, then definitely staff member can help, or they can control this difficult time. So we cannot say that risk is only with the chemical manufacturing company, or risk is only mining. Nowadays, risk is with even a small establishment also. Now fire is the risk, fire. Then sometimes there are also some terrorist attack. Now this kind of training is also given to the staff member, that if terrorist attack happens, then how to make safe to your establishment. So there are some numbers. So through that number you have to inform, or there are some switches are there. If you press that switch, and then siren gets on. Siren. Do you know what is siren? Siren. Hello.
Yes, sir.
So that siren, if you press that switch, then suddenly the siren gets on, and then people come to know that something serious is happening beside our building. So everybody will keep their attention to that place, and situation can be controlled. But altogether, whenever you want to minimize your risky situation, again and again I am telling you, as a company owner, you should give appropriate training to your staff member, because staff members are the only person who are there. Customers will come and will go. New customer will come. So anytime if it is happening, if it is happening with a new customer, but they are not aware about the safety measures. But staff member should be given training how to use safety measures, and that safety measures how to provide to their customer. So if this thing is taken care of, definitely we can sufficient enough to handle ERM process, that is enterprises risk management. Enterprise risk management. So I have given example of coal mining, then army, police, chemical manufacturing company, and whatnot. So there is a huge scope for enterprises risk management. So there are also people like you and me. So they are also not very much aware of the risk, but still, with the help of training, they are made aware about the potential risk. Potential risk. Maybe in hospital, that proper training should be given to the doctor, nurses, then ward boy, supporting staff. They should be given training. So if something goes wrong in hospital premises, same staff can help to their patients. Similarly, in case of mall, in mall there are sales representative, there are helpers. So all kind of these employees should be given initial training of risk handling. I am not saying detailed training, but initial training till the time if expert comes, till the time they should be able to handle that particular risk. So that kind of risk, if it is being provided, I'm sure that enterprises can minimize their risk. So next time we will talk about the technology risk. What is the technology risk? Today we will end here up to the scope. Before we end our session, if you have any doubt, you are free to ask. Otherwise, we will close the session. Any doubt so far? For this, we have discussed scope. Then we also discussed concept of enterprises risk management. Concept. Then meaning of risk management for enterprises, that is ERM meaning. And here I include the example include global crisis, IT system failure, data breaches, that is data stealing, fraud, loss of people, and litigation. So this is all about the meaning of risk management for enterprises. So do you want to ask anything about this? Unit number 4, that is risk management for enterprises. Still, we require one more session to finish this unit number 4. Maybe tomorrow we will complete this unit number 4. So with this, I close today's session. Thank you for attending. Good night.